Donald Trump was so enraged yesterday after the Supreme Court struck down his tariff power that he spent his entire breakfast meeting with the National Governors Association screaming expletives about Supreme Court justices. Donald Trump was so upset that the press had to be removed. And while they got to stick around for the entirety of his speech tonight, a dinner with the National Governors Association, I can't say that it was much better. Sure, there was a little bit less screaming, but it was still the same angry, confused, and complaining Trump, because that is all that's left of his term. Complaints, whining, shifting the blame, because Donald Trump is rapidly losing power, and it's why he's lashing out. We saw it in a weird diatribe he went on tonight, and I want to get into a very confused, very annoyed Donald Trump and all the weirdness that came out of the speech tonight, starting with his commentary on hairspray and global warming.
He came in to see me today. These are the kind of things. He said, "Sir, we have to save the Great Salt Lake." I said, "Explain this to me, please." And in that city called Salt Lake City, somebody said, "Where is it located?" I said, "It's located in Salt Lake City, right?" So he said, "We're losing water rapidly, and it's getting smaller, drier. And you tell those people we're going to work on it really hard. We're going to save it. We're not going to let that go." That is what I call a real environmental problem, not using hairspray and I'm going to ruin the ozone, okay? I'm in my apartment in Trump Tower. The building is totally sealed off. And if I use hairspray, they say, "Sir, you're creating an environmental hazard." That's not the...
Is he the stupidest person in the country? The answer, yes. And Donald Trump is now admitting that partially that reason might be that he's locking himself in rooms with fumes. That's great, Donald. We completely shielded and closed off the room before I sprayed chemicals in my face, and I love to breathe them in. And ever since then, my brain doesn't work as well. But quite frankly, we love it. We love the chemicals. It's funny that Donald Trump can acknowledge that environmental disasters do exist, though, something that he has decided in this term as Kristi Noem cuts off FEMA funding to the very governors that are in attendance tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if Kristi wasn't in attendance tonight. That Donald Trump maybe can acknowledge that there are some natural disasters, there are some climate catastrophes that take place that he completely ignores. But one thing that Donald Trump won't ignore is not the truth, but a lie, a rigged election that didn't happen, that for some reason he still wants to talk about.
It's really special. It's going to be something that I think that there will be nothing like this period of time. You know, when the election was rigged and I missed my normal second term, I said, "This is terrible." But I was the one that got the Olympics and I was the one that got the World Cup. The problem was I was going to be president for another 4 years, and this was going to take place. Mr. Governor, you're doing a good job in Louisiana. We did a good job in that very special city of yours, too, with crime, didn't we? Huh? He said you cleaned it out. New Orleans, we cleaned it out. You never had, and your Mardi Gras was a big success, right?
So why is a complaining, angry, ranting, rambling Donald Trump talking about a rigged election in front of governors who help oversee the elections that take place in their states? Maybe Donald Trump is slowly starting to make the case, or trying to make the case, to the Republicans in attendance tonight, because there are many governors, Democratic governors, who decided not to attend. J.B. Pritzker, Governor Gavin Newsom, and there are plenty of others who did not go to this event tonight. But why is Donald Trump kind of starting to press on those Republicans? It is obviously because what he is after, looking at polling, looking at special elections, seeing the infighting taking place within his own party. We talked about how Donald Trump is calling for a sitting Republican member of Congress to be primaried, another one tonight. He knows that the only way he can win is by trying to steal these midterms. I know that sounds like something that Donald Trump says, but it's honestly just the truth. And it is why, as I've said so many times, this man in clear cognitive decline, as confused as he is more focused on preserving his legacy, however he views it, than anything else, which is why Trump went on a winding, weird diatribe about the ballroom.
We read a lot. We're building a ballroom for 150 years. They've wanted a great ballroom. Even a ballroom, not a great one. Just give me a room, because this is a very small room, can hold very small numbers of people. And they've wanted a great ballroom, and we're going to build the greatest ballroom anywhere in the world. There'll be nothing like it. And you're looking right here at the entrance. This is a knockout panel, exactly where the gold curtains are. And when that gets opened, there's a magnificent walkway that goes into what will be the most beautiful ballroom anywhere in the world. So we did this no charge to the taxpayer whatsoever. This was all donations made by friends of mine and people that love our country. They love the White House, Preservation Society, the whole group, but not one penny of, and it's a very expensive building, very expensive ballroom, but beautiful, beautiful, in keeping with the White House. An enhancement to the White House, but they've needed it for years. When they had a big event, when the president of China comes in, when somebody comes in of magnitude, they put a tent out on the lawn. If it rained, you were in deep trouble because the only part of the lawn that they can do it is a very low section. So it would be, a little embarrassing when you're sitting down with the king of Saudi Arabia and he's sitting in a puddle with 4 inches of water over his shoes. It was not exactly good. But it's under construction, but right through. That's going to be a very famous portal for hopefully hundreds of years, because what we're building is really special, but so important to say because nobody ever reports it. It will be totally, totally tax-free. Not one penny of tax will be donated to this, and it's going to be something that I think the country will be very proud of when it opens, but for hundreds, hopefully hundreds and hundreds of years. So thank you all very much.
Quite frankly, when my rich friends come to the White House, they don't like that there is a tent, so we are stealing money, because they actually are. Let's be entirely honest. Donald Trump is not just using the money donated by Jeff Bezos or Tim Cook or whomever else. Also, I don't know why that's a great sell to us. Sure, I don't want to be spending money on Donald Trump's idiotic ballroom. We are, by the way, let's make that very clear. Donald Trump is certainly making us pay in some way for this ballroom, but I don't know why bragging that the people who you cut $1 trillion of our healthcare to give tax cuts to, them donating $1 million means I got to clap and stand at attention like the Republican goobers in the room who will always applaud Donald Trump no matter what. And why is he even talking about the ballroom? I guess because he's like, oh no, this room that perfectly fits everyone is too small for us to have the event that we're having tonight, that we're able to have. Again, can anyone give me the justification for the ballroom? Has there ever been a problem with putting out the tent? It seems like it's a secure tent. From the photos I've seen, it's always a nice tent. Are there not other things that the president of the United States, who currently looks like he wants to start an offensive war with Iran, should be paying attention to? Nope. It's just the ballroom. We're just doing the ballroom. Fantastic. Great. Quite frankly, we love the ballroom, and it's the only thing that we are going to talk about. Yeah, and as I continued to say, as Donald Trump seeps deeper into cognitive decline, and it's really evident in everything that he does, the legacy preservation is what he is after most. Donald Trump has cheated everyone and everything throughout his entire life. And at least some people are starting to kind of wake up to it a little bit. They're getting a little bit tired of the Trump dance of it all. I actually want to talk about that in a little bit as it relates to Joe Rogan, who I'm fucking still furious with. I'd like to say a few words. But Trump is cheated every single aspect of his life. He is a con man. He has conned the entire country multiple times. Not you and I, of course, but enough of the population to get us in the fucking shitty situation where we are now. Let's be clear. Donald Trump is a con man. He is a liar. He is a cheat. We have known that forever. It is the case that we tried to make back in 2015. But Donald Trump thinks he can also cheat death. And not just death by, slapping some makeup on his hands or his face or covering his cankles, but he thinks he can cheat history. Now, that makes a lot of sense from a guy who doesn't read or know anything about history. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that Donald Trump doesn't read, considering yesterday he told us that, quite frankly, no one knows the statutes, and I'll read them off right now. It's statute, trade. I don't know what that says, but we're going to say that I know it. Donald Trump, of course, does not read. He doesn't read history. He doesn't know history. Doesn't care to know history. And so, of course, he thinks he gets to cheat the record as well. Cheat his record. Cheat how he is remembered. But that has already been set in stone. It doesn't matter how much stone, quite literally, he cobbles together to build an arch or build a ballroom or build a statue of himself. Because the presidential library, I promise you, is not going to get a lot of attendance. If I know one thing about Trump supporters, they don't read. They're not the smartest people. The presidential library that Donald Trump will eventually put together is just going to be a slush fund to pay for his plane and scam his supporters for every cent possible until he dies. And that is what he is thinking about most. When, thank God, it happens. Donald Trump is thinking about that. And he wants to be able to see a good version of it now. Why do you think that Donald Trump kept memorial in the John F. Kennedy Jr. and Donald Trump memorial, like performing, like why do you think that the Kennedy Center for the performing still had memorial? Trump is alive, and then the Kennedy Center still had memorial in the name because he wanted to know, to be quite honest, what it felt like. And he wanted to see people attend and have to acknowledge him even after he was gone. You know, Donald Trump talks a lot about the Trump derangement syndrome of the left. It was the refrain that Pam Bondi continued to go back to in between shrill shouts about the Dow and misquoted crime statistics. She talked about that Trump derangement syndrome that the left has. But the real Trump derangement syndrome is Trump believing that we care about him, or we want to hear from him, or we need to know what he thinks or feels. That's not true. It's not. And so Donald Trump has tried his best to either put his name on already iconic American institutions or buildings already erected for other purposes. And now he's trying to build his own, thinking that doing so will protect him from history knowing him. But it already does. The report card is not stellar, which is no surprise for Donald Trump. A dumb man. But people, as Trump tries to set his record straight with lies and billionaire dollars, a lot of people, including his base, are waking up. Listen to Joe Rogan of all people.
It's overwhelming me. Like sometimes at nighttime, like I can't wind down.
Yeah.
It's just like there's too much news. It's too much fucking madness. We're about to go to war with Iran.
I know.
Like everyone's eating beef jerky and pizza. Like, what are these? What the fuck is pizza?
I know.
You know, how far does this go? How come this never got released before? Like, what is happening?
Joe, you're worried if you can sleep? Dude, you've got like $100 million from Spotify to spread conspiracy theories and faulty science. How do you think other people feel who are actually affected by what Donald Trump has done? Do you think it is easier or harder for them? You don't even care. You flip your political ideology every other day. And so now you're starting to notice you advocated for this. You should feel ashamed every time you admit that you were wrong. But people are admitting that they are wrong. They are waking up, and that will be Donald Trump's legacy. I don't care how many bad ballrooms you build, we can tear them down. And we will talk about that on the show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. Until next time, I'll see you soon.